Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me, we have not only Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, but Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle as well. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Thank you guys so much for filling in on my one planned and one unplanned absence over the last couple of weeks. I feel like we haven't all been together in a while. But here we are, and it is the morning after the national nightmare that occurred last night when the 51st state decided that they are still the state of... What happens?
There's still a country, Bill.
Do they, like, what happens to Minnesota's the state of hockey thing when we, I'm sorry, I know it's not a joke, but it's kind of funny. You won. I'm allowed to talk nonsense.
It's the outcome we all deserved, really.
But Canada wins 3-2 in overtime. The best player in the world gets us in OT. Again, the passing of the torch.
I was going to say it really was. Yeah.
From Crosby to McDavid.
The last little transition.
Is complete. On 32 Thoughts today, Elliot was sure to say, we've already decided Crosby's coming back. He's going to captain in the Olympics next year.
Of course he is.
The torch hasn't been passed, but come on. We all know the best player is Connor McDavid, has been for some time, but that is like, it's just weird symmetry. That's all. So here we are the day after dissecting Canada's win, Team USA's loss, however we want to talk about it. I'm going to start with our standouts and disappointments, but first... overall reaction to the tournament, because I just thought it was a home run for hockey. Regardless of the winner, we saw basically all the best players in the world go head-to-head and play awesome hockey against each other for 2 weeks. I dug it.
It was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. And I think
you were one of the skeptics.
I was.
Yeah, you were.
It's because the players were so much more bought in than I expected them to be.
So many guys, unless like it was a dude who's been to the cup.
Yeah.
They were like, this is the biggest game of my life.
I know. And it's because we've been denied the Olympics for the last 10 years.
Yeah, something like that. But
like
even like the World Cup in 2016.
Not the same.
I heard on Puck Soup yesterday, you know how many guys were on the 2016 Team USA team that were on this roster? Zero.
Yeah, there were a couple
Zero.
North America guys. Yeah.
And like it makes sense. It lines up. Like if this is the first time in however long we think we have the talent, it's like, well, that means they were all not in the league or young then, and they would have been on Team North America. Right. But it was a hell of a tournament. And the players, the intensity, the physicality, that was hockey, man.
It was some of the most fun I've had watching hockey in a long. There's really very few things better in sports than best on best hockey. It's just so
tremendous.
Good.
Tremendous.
And it wouldn't have been a big deal because they've had, for example, I remember as a kid when there would be like the All-Star game be, North America versus the world. And nobody cared.
It was still a 10-7 nonsense
exactly.
game.
It didn't matter. What made this tournament as special as it ultimately ended up being was that the players cared. Mm-hmm. And that was something where you didn't know if they were going to care or how much they were going to care until the tournament got started. And then you realize, oh no, they're taking this very seriously. I thought the reaction, you could tell from the jump, obviously these guys are taking the game seriously, taking the tournament seriously, but just the degree of exuberance on Brady Tkachuk's face when he scored that goal last night, like you could tell this mattered to those guys.
Wanted it.
It mattered to them.
Yeah, it really clearly did. And I think it was a player on Finland who was like, Yeah, we weren't really sure what to expect, and then in like the first minute, we're like, "Oh, this is for real." Okay,
doing it.
all right, let's go then.
Yeah.
This is something this is a real thing, and that's what made it so great. And like I've been saying this, hockey needs to capitalize somehow on like this spotlight it has. Best players standing out to such a degree. As Charlie and I have talked about, like the juxtaposition of the physicality and intensity of this tournament up against the NBA All-Star game, like where people in the broad sports world are like, this, why would you watch this when this is on?
Yeah.
Like really, you're watching actual competition. You're watching dudes. I mean, the Saturday game, USA-Canada, 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, and then everybody playing some of the best defense you've ever seen was absolutely unbelievable. Like they need to somehow continue this momentum through these playoffs into next season, into the Olympics. And hockey's in a great place right now, and that's my number one takeaway.
The NHL is in a good place, too, because they can... The big gamble with this for the NHL was that this was not an IIHF production. This was an NHL production. Now, there's going to be future issues that they try to grow this because some of the countries that they're going to want to add to these types of tournaments don't have enough NHL players for it to be a fully NHL production. But this opens the door for the NHL to have their own international battles, because I'm a consistent critic of the World Championships, which is the IIHF's yearly international best on best tournament. I think it's a joke, and I've said it's been a joke for a decade plus, because my view is that entire tournament, for those who don't know, the World Championships are played in like early May. The tournament, whoever wins that tournament, it's basically determined by which team doesn't have its most important players still in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because obviously they're not going to leave their team in the playoffs to go play for their country in a tournament that doesn't actually matter. My point is that that's the IIHF's like big yearly tournament, and it's an absolute joke. It is a waste of everyone's time, in my opinion. The only reason why people care about it is because, hey, you might be able to impress your national team enough to maybe get to the Olympics if the Olympics ever come back. Well, looks like they're coming back. But point being is that the IIHF, by creating what I will always consider to be a waste of everyone's time as their main tournament, it's opened the door for the NHL to have a much better tournament of their own. And this one, in terms of intensity, in terms of interest, blows the doors off of the World Championships. It's an exciting opportunity for the NHL. And the NHL took a risk.
Yeah.
Sometimes the NHL takes risks and they pan out. Last one I can remember that had as much skepticism and panned out as well as it did was the expansion of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's the last one. Where it's just like, yeah, a lot of people are like, hockey team in Vegas, is that going to work? And then by the first month, everybody's like,
we went out there and we were like, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen.
That was,
it was incredible.
Yes.
I'll be interested to see what the NHL does with this opportunity, because they do have a long history of kind of fumbling the bag with these kinds of things. Like the first Winter Classic was like the greatest thing ever. People were like, this is awesome. It's amazing. We're having so much fun. Could have been a marquee event for them. I think you guys talked about it yesterday. They watered it down. Now no one really cares.
It's now a local thing.
It is.
It's
fun
for at all.
It's fun for the team and the city that it's in, and no one else gives a crap.
Everybody in those buildings is having the time of their life.
Sure.
As a TV event, I'm sitting with not many people know more about hockey. When did you find out this year's was on New Year's Eve? Was it when it came on New Year's
Yes,
Eve? Like, because that's
pretty
when a
much.
lot of people figured it out.
Last night I saw the commercial for the outdoor game happening on March 1st. I was like, oh,
cool.
all right.
Okay.
Another one.
But my point is that now you can theoretically, and they would have to do some maneuvering with some of the European leagues, maybe come to some sort of agreements with them so that they stop too, so they can have bigger tournaments. But in, what would it be? Next year is the Olympics.
And they want to do a World Cup in 2028.
They want to do a World Cup in 2028. Like, if you can have it set up for a World Cup where you have all of the countries back, where it's not just a 4 nations, but a bunch more nations, and the NHL runs it, that's a cash cow. That's something that people will get really, really into.
And that's what I did a whole thing, talking, they can never do a real all-star, the old format, that's dead. The all-star game is dead now. And one thing, like, it is a revenue driver. You sell a bunch of jerseys. It's a weekend, all that. What if you have, like 4, 8 teams and it's actually good? Like, that's going to be more of a revenue driver. Yeah. Sell tickets not just for 1 or 2 nights, but for a 2-week, 17-day, whatever tournament. That is gigantic, but they will run into, like, Germany needs to be in it because Leon Dreisaitl's a top 5 player. Tim Stützle, like, there are some German stars.
Yeah.
But then who else in the league? So it can't just be NHL players like it was this time. And listening to 32 Thoughts today, they talked like, there's going to be some maneuvering and they really think they're going to be able to work it out. They have plenty of time to make it work.
The thing is, though, like, do they have to? Because I feel like what you're describing is essentially like them trying to do a mini Olympics with just hockey, which obviously would be cool. Yeah. But also, like, you can't do that with just NHL players. So, like, maybe you, like, accept those limitations. And, like, obviously you could have more teams than just these 4. You could probably get, like, a Czech team, probably.
I don't know if there's enough Czech. I don't know if there's enough Czech players,
especially
to do a full
now
team.
with
Russia. You could do.
Russia,
if you were
you
going to let them
real
do
close.
It. Yeah.
Russia, you could do it.
Yeah.
And I've just never 4 teams. This is all well and good.
Or maybe you do like a Europe team.
They said they don't want to do fake teams this time.
And I agree with that because the thing is that once you have fake teams, then you take away the national pride.
That's true.
And that was a big part of it.
It's a lot to consider.
Russia, you could do. The only complication with Russia, and this just may stay a complication, is you can create a full team of Russian NHL players. The problem is that some of the best Russian players are playing in Russian.
Yeah.
Like best on best.
Yes.
We don't want, oh, well, he's a third liner, but he's in the NHL, so we have to take him. I never, like, it's an even number 4, and you don't know if you could do a Czechia team and all that. Like, Russia's banned from IIHF international play. This was not an IIHF tournament. But whatever. This was really, really cool.
It was fun.
And now my big thing is, like, I'm excited for the Olympics.
Yo,
I want another go at this
excited.
thing. I want to get Quinn Hughes out there. I want a healthy Matt Tkachuk. I want to see how it goes like that. Now, Canada might have some additions by then, like Connor Bedard or something like that. But I want to see how this goes. But I want to talk about...
the U.S. would have Quinn Hughes.
Yes.
And Charlie McAvoy.
Exactly. Yeah, there were some guys hurt. I mean, they're down to 10 forwards last night in the 3rd period.
Yeah, and a healthy Matthew Tkachuk because he barely played the final 2/3 of the game.
But I want to talk about our standouts and disappointments right now. And I got to give my big standout, and it's really just for the championship game. The position that the U.S. could win this tournament on was goaltending.
Yep.
Connor Hellebuck, I think, is the best player on Team USA. Charlie and I talked about it a little while ago. Like, yeah, he's the best player at his position. That might be the only American we can say can definitely stake that claim, especially in this tournament. Jordan Binnington. He was supposed to be the reason we could win.
Yeah.
And those saves in overtime, I kind of thought he should win tournament MVP. Obviously, with McKinnon and McDavid doing what they did, putting up the points. But the way Binnington played in that, I keep wanting to call it the gold medal game too.
Yeah.
But the final, the championship, whatever, like, hard to say there's a bigger reason than they won than, like, him stopping Austin Matthews 10 times.
No, I feel like they should rename TD Garden Binnington Place or something. Like, he is insane in that building and must-win games. Like, that one save where it was like a few minutes into overtime, Sanheim turns it over right to Austin Matthews, which you're not going to want to do. He gets the shot off. Binnington makes the save. It goes right to Brady Tkachuk, and he somehow gets over and gets it in his glove. He was insane.
They didn't make a big enough deal out of the second save.
Yeah,
the
second
save was
was
even better than the first.
And like, I don't want to give Jordan Binnington any props.
He's
whatsoever.
a thoroughly unlikable player.
He is just an incredibly unlikable human.
His regular
man.
temper tantrums are so annoying.
But I love bad guys. That's the thing, is, like, I want Jordan Binnington in this because there's a chance he just, like, two-hands somebody.
I think
no, he won't though, because he's a fake. He's like a fake tough guy.
That's my problem.
He would pretend to two-hand someone or be like, I really want to beat you up, but I'm not going to do
He's the dude who's like, hold me back, hold me back. And then everybody's like, dude, I'm not holding you back. You're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
No, like, I
Jordan
can
Binnington.
respect a villain like Scott Stevens, who, like, he's a cheap shot artist and he's dirty, but he's tough as nails. I respect that. Jordan Binnington is a fake tough guy. I have zero respect for Jordan Binnington, but he played a great game last night.
He was incredible last night.
He was insane.
So who were before we get to the disappointments, real give me one standout. And like McKinnon, obviously, McDavid, but like beyond those guys, who did you think really stood out last night, throughout the tournament, whatever?
Well, I think, and it was glaringly obvious once he went down. I mean, the Tkachuks were great.
My God.
The Tkachuks were so good. I think the U.S. wins that game if Matthew Tkachuk isn't playing through an injury in the first period and they can actually play a little bit in the second, third, and overtime. I think they win that game. I do. The Tkachuks were fantastic. They were perfectly suited for this type of game that the U.S. was playing. And also, they were the guys that were setting the tone for the whole team. And that's huge because, look, the U.S. is more talented than they've ever been before. With the exception of goaltending, if you look purely at the skaters, Canada has more talent than the U.S.
100%.
They do. Skating talent, Canada is still ahead. But the U.S. bought into their style more than Canada did, and I think the Tkachuks were a huge part of that.
Who stood out for you, Hinkle?
Bennett, I thought, had a good tournament.
He was good.
He was really good.
He was good.
I mean, I just love Nathan McKinnon.
He was great.
I know that it's like the obvious pick, but I'm obsessed with him. So it's super cool that, because like, I mean, like, Austin Matthews didn't really show up the way that you would expect Austin Matthews to show up. Like, sometimes the big name guys don't do what you expect them to do, but McKinnon did. He was pretty awesome the whole way through.
No, I thought that was the difference for Canada, other than their goaltending going bananas in the championship, basically. Yeah. Like, McDavid and McKinnon scored. Matthews, Jack Hughes, Jack Eichel, no. And that's where we're supposed to be, at least close to as good as them, and it just didn't pan out. I got to give it up to Jacob Slavin,
He was
though.
so good.
Oh, he was good.
My
he was really good.
God, like, when
So
you talk about a defensive stalwart, a lot of times I think coaches, the media makes a big deal out of and like, this isn't news. Everyone knows how good Slavin is, but like, now he did it not just on a Tuesday against Columbus.
Right.
Like, this is against freaking McDavid.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Like, I usually, he's great at defense. That means he's on defense a lot. You know, like, well, guess what you're going to be? On defense against Connor McDavid. You know, like, against best on best, you're going to be on defense quite some time. And I finally think I know the definition of killing plays. Like, that is...
He was doing that on every shift.
He was committing homicide on plays.
Yeah.
Every time he's out there. Yeah. That diving block, he was all over the place. And he deserves so much credit for what he did defensively against, you know, maybe the most offensively gifted team I've ever seen.
I had a conversation at practice today with Jim Jackson, and he made a point that I thought was very interesting, because I would say that on that pairing, because it was him and Brock Faber, Slavin and Brock Faber, that Slavin was the more impressive. But JJ made the point, he was like, I was counting. Brock Faber, while he's getting credit because he took a ton of minutes, led the team in ice time, he turned the puck over a lot. And JJ was like, I counted 10 turnovers by Brock Faber in that game, because of course he was counting.
Yeah.
And the thing was that every time Faber would turn it over, then Slavin would erase it by making a great defensive play. Like, they were defending a lot because Faber kept giving the Canada players the puck, and then Slavin be like, all right, I'll take it down again. Don't worry. I got it.
It's not as if Slavin is doing like the off the glass and out thing and, we can't change and they're back on. Like, he's actually just playing great defense.
Yeah.
And not because he's creating defense like we say so.
No, they were
often.
coming in at him, and every time he was poke checking the puck away, finding a way to block a pass, block a shot. He was so good. And because that to me is actually a low-key disappointment of this tournament for the U.S., is I expected more from their blue line core. Now, part of it is Quinn Hughes was out. That's a bummer.
No Hughes.
McAvoy was great before he got hurt, obviously. So good. But expected a lot more from Adam Fox. Werenski was fine, but I wanted him to be better.
I feel like Werenski was getting a lot of praise, and I was like, he's been good.
He was fine. He was better than Fox.
Yeah, like, he needed to be his absolute best self, and I don't think he was quite there. I want to get into
he
more...
didn't step up in Hughes' absence, whereas Slavin stepped up in Hughes' absence.
Absolutely. I want to get into some more of our disappointments from the tournament, and some, contributions of the Flyers as well. But first, I got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Leading things off here with Lucy Nicotine. I've been telling you about this for a couple of months now. The 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free Lucy breakers and pouches are outstanding. If you are a nicotine user, I recommend these highly. You know, it's these winter months, man, especially. You want to be going outside? Absolutely not. You pop in a Lucy nicotine pouch or breaker. You're not gonna have that. You're not gonna have that need to go outside because you have what you need right here. The flavors are outstanding. Big fan of the cinnamon. I've been telling you, it's not like a spicy, like big red cinnamon. It's more like a cinnamon sugar. It's outstanding. I like the wintergreen a lot. I am a big fan of the Lucy products, and you got to set yourself up with a subscription to have Lucy delivered straight to your door today. Do it. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/PHLY and use promo code PHLY to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co/PHLY and use code PHLY to get 20% off. And here's that fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. And while we are here, why don't I tell you about Golden Nugget Jewelers? That's right, not quite as good of a transition as Charlie had the other day on this one, but listen, you're on that ring hunt. It's getting to be that romantic season. Spring is coming. Maybe you're waiting for summer, whatever it is, as it warms up. You might be thinking about popping that question. Well, if you're going to do it, go to Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. For over 30 years, they've been at 8th and Chestnut, and the selection, outstanding. The customer service, second to none. I am a big fan, and take it from me, I've been on that ring hunt before. It was real fun watching our Eagles hunt a ring. It ain't fun doing it yourself, let me tell you that. That's why you deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more. All right, I want to, you mentioned Travis Sanheim. I'm going to talk about some of our disappointments. I don't know what I was expecting out of Travis Sanheim, but I wasn't really all that enthused.
Did you think he was bad? I thought he was okay.
I thought he was just kind of doing a good thing, doing a bad thing. Like, turns it over, gets it back, gets it in the zone, flubs a shot. Like, I don't know. He was just kind of, I was hoping for more. And part of it is probably like I didn't get to see Travis Konecny outside of, like, you know, he didn't play in the championship game. He only played 2 games in the tournament, no points. Like, maybe I just wanted it from TK and he wasn't in there. So it's like, now it's you, Sanheim. You thought he was a little better than I did?
I thought he was fine.
I thought he was good.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say I thought he was really good. I thought he was good. I thought he made plays. He was active. I know The Athletic did a breakdown of guys who helped and hurt their cases for the Olympics as a result of this tournament, and they put, based on conversations with Canada's higher ups, they put Sanheim as someone who helped his stock.
Interesting.
So, based on that article, I feel justified in thinking he was fine. I don't think he was incredible. He certainly wasn't one of their better defensemen, but I think he earned his spot in the lineup. It's not like he was just in there because, you know, Shea Theodore got hurt. Like, I think he was a deserving player.
They put him out there to start overtime last night.
He got 18 minutes. Yeah. It wasn't like they completely pulled him out of the rotation. He was a third pair defenseman on this team, but honestly, going into the season, I never would have in a million years predicted he would have even been an option for this team, and he held his own. I would say he held his own. He was fine, in my opinion.
I would have liked to see Travis Konecny.
It would have been cool.
I think we all would have.
It would have. No, I'm like, we talked about this yesterday. I'm just bummed for him because like this was his opportunity to show for a year from now that I do belong out here, and I don't know if he made that case. Now, listen, if he comes out next year and like he's just as good or even better, he's going to be in the conversation again. But then it comes down to who do we know, who do we trust, and TK, 2 games, no points, -3, 11-16 average time on ice. He did get that piggyback from Marchand, though.
That was a gift to all of us.
Real Giroux celebrating in 2016 vibes for me when he came out in just like his skates and pants because he didn't dress. He was a scratch for that gold medal game in the World Cup.
I was immediately like, so what if the Flyers sign Brad Marchand this summer? Maybe that could happen.
Maybe
Oh,
it could.
Just have a couple of rats riding around on each other out there.
Get some leadership, you know? Yeah.
Sure.
Listen, I hate Brad Marchand. I would love him on my team.
That'll just have more people saying, look how small they are on the wing. Even smaller.
They got small again. Who else? Who did you have as a disappointment, Charlie?
Well, we talked about this on another video, but I already mentioned Adam Fox. I thought the big disappointment for the U.S. was Jack Hughes. He was
invisible.
He was actively poor, especially in this game. Like in some of the other games, he was just not a non-entity. He wasn't that much of a factor. This game, every time he touched the puck, he turned it over. Got knocked off the puck immediately. He was actively poor.
He's a young guy. He's not 24 yet, but damn, that was a oof. Bro, now listen, I said this to Charlie earlier. Like, if this is who he is as a devil in the playoffs, dope.
Yeah, right.
But for like international play, like he's one of the super talented dudes that we're like, we need you to go head to head with the behemoth that is Canada. And bro, came up real small.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think everyone's been looking forward to McDavid versus Matthews in international play. And I just kind of thought Matthews just like, I wanted him to be as sick as, did I say McDavid versus Matthews?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. I wanted him to be, sick goal scoring Austin Matthews, just like picking corners on stupid Jordan Binnington left and right. And he really didn't do all that much of it.
And like, I think it's like in the Saturday game, the round robin win over Canada, like he's excellent defensively.
Sure.
And he missed one short side, like right off the side of the net with a huge chance in that game. But if your thing is like, all right, maybe I'm not, and he does have 2 assists last night.
I thought he had a strong game last night. It's just that he didn't finish.
He
had
didn't
opportunities
finish.
and didn't finish.
And if your thing is like, well, I am like one of the best defensive players, then you can't have that huge defensive lapse.
Yeah.
Now, listen, it is a half of a second against the best player in the world. But, bro, you can't just drift.
Do you think that was all on him? Feels like the entire team left him wide open.
It seemed like they were just kind of all puck watching for a second.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when the fastest dude of all time, like all of a
he
sudden.
was just so
like,
open. Like he
Fox
had
was
time.
involved in the breakdown, but in the end, like that is kind of Matthews' spot.
Yeah.
So he's probably the guy who gets the biggest, there's the most at fault on the play, I would say. My view of Matthews is that, look, he's maybe the best goal scorer in hockey. He didn't score goals, so it's going to be viewed as a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't look at his play and I look at Jack Hughes' play and I'm worried. I'm worried about, is this just what we can expect from him in international play, because he was straight up bad. Whereas Matthews was good. He just didn't finish. And that's frustrating and it's not enough. But that happens. That's hockey. Sometimes you just don't finish for 4 games. It was an extremely small sample size.
Yeah, but it's just like for the US to beat Canada, you need Austin Matthews to be Austin Matthews.
I mean, they almost beat Canada.
They didn't, though.
Yeah, but my point
because
is...
Connor McDavid was Connor McDavid, but Austin Matthews was not Austin Matthews.
but I think they could have beaten Canada without Austin Matthews scoring a goal. If someone else, like you just said, Matthews takes that one shot, it gets stopped. Brady Tkachuk takes another shot, that gets stopped. If Brady Tkachuk scores on that play and Binnington doesn't make an amazing save, then guess what? The U.S. won without Austin Matthews scoring a goal.
That's fair.
3 assists, though.
It is he is the preeminent goal scorer. That's the thing we have. We have the guy who put in 69 a year ago. There's already Ovi's just breaking this record so that Matthews can come up right behind him and break it. And it's like, well, he's going to have to stay healthy and be consistent. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Mm-hmm. Like if we have that's one of our, edges. It needs to come through.
I don't think
he was I'm not blaming him. He's not the reason they lost.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I was disappointed.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him be great, not just good.
I also don't think that, if you're expecting Austin Matthews to outplay Connor McDavid, you are going to be disappointed because Connor McDavid is better than Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
To me, the more applicable comparison is probably Matthews and McKinnon. That's more Matthews, I think, is on McKinnon's level. I don't think anybody is on McDavid's level when he's playing his best.
Just as an aside to the Jack Hughes conversation, because I didn't think of this earlier and I just did. This was an NHL tournament with NHL rules, and listen, that Team USA's identity was we're going to try to beat you up.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened in the first meeting. They were going to be physical. That was their thing. the Olympics is different. One, like obviously no fighting, but the bigger ice. Do you think that like with the bigger ice and maybe the double IHF rules, it'll be like, oh, actually that benefits Jack Hughes a little bit. Like I just thought that, yeah, maybe it will.
I had somebody in my mentions after the game in like 3 tweets who just was obsessed with this idea of like, yeah, the U.S. is going to get killed in the Olympics because of the bigger ice. And I'm not ready to say that. I think there are some players on the U.S. that will probably be a bit less effective on the bigger ice.
The Kachucks.
But then there will be other players who will be more effective on the bigger ice. The U.S. ain't slow anymore.
No.
They got fantastic skaters who should be able to take advantage of that. And on the flip side, will there be players on Team Canada be better on the bigger ice? Sure. But like, will Crosby and Marchand in their current forms be? Will Marchand even be on the team on the Olympics, given the fact that he looked kind of underwhelming for a lot of this tournament? I think that it's not a slam dunk anymore. Like before, you could say, well, Canada's high-end talent will win out on the bigger ice because there's more space. The U.S. is a very fast team. So I'm not ready to say that on the bigger ice that Canada has a bigger advantage.
Okay. This is a question. I think Connor Hellebuck is Team USA's best overall player. Taking goaltending out of it, like we said, he's the best player at his position. He might be the only American who can claim that. I think Quinn Hughes could maybe have a claim. He did win the Norris over McCarr last year. Was in the running for the MVP this year before the injury, but he didn't play, so it doesn't matter. Outside of goaltending, though, who's Team USA's best skater? Like, who is the best player they have?
Is it a healthy Matt Kachuk?
Is it like
no? It's Matthews.
Is it still? It's still Austin Matthews, right?
Let's not be fooled here by 4 games of a guy a little snippet.
I'm just thinking like overall impact wise. Like, I mean, I'm the person who, if I were drafting a team, would take McKinnon over McDavid. So, understanding that McDavid, pure talent-wise, is more purely talented than Nathan McKinnon. I just feel like Nathan McKinnon's other stuff is, like, pretty sick and can't really be duplicated. I feel like Matt Kachuk is just, like, such a perfect packaged hockey player in, like, every single way that if he's fully healthy, like, he can't, like, his presence on the team more important than Austin Matthews.
I just think that we're talking about a guy in Austin Matthews who is a consistent Selke contender.
He's real good.
Who scores more goals than pretty much anybody else.
Yes.
Who plays center versus wing for Kachuk.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matthews is the better player. Now, Kachuk is going to probably do more of the traditional hockey things in terms of like being physical and hitting and, you know, getting people like fighting, those kinds of things. I still think Matthews is the better player.
I think it's Jacob Slavin, personally.
It's hard to argue.
I just love a shot-blocking defenseman. How'd you like the officiating in this tournament?
I mean, I was fine with it.
I dug it.
I thought it was fine.
Because it was like, it was a little playoff, let him play, but I didn't think it was...
It wasn't egregious.
It wasn't, how are you just letting them cheat? Like, now, too many men in overtime.
They definitely gave some
metric
leeway.
system, though. You know, I'm giving some leeway on the metric system for Team Canada.
And they didn't mention this, but this is probably why the officials went in with the plan of giving them leeway. These teams didn't practice that often. Like they're not cohesive wholes. So probably the officials are like, look, we know the changes aren't going to be as fluid as they are normally. We're going to give you some leeway there. Now, Canada used up all that leeway and maybe more, but I think that was maybe more of a purposeful decision from the referees and the officials' part because of the fact that you kind of just put all these super teams together, drop them, you know, in 2 cities for a week and a half, and we're like, figure it out.
Good luck.
So they're not gonna go crazy calling too many men when they know these guys are gonna be a little discombobulated. Here's what I'll say about the officiating. I liked it, but I think it was in some ways a product of the players on the ice, and here's my reasoning for that. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have your stars. Yes, every team has their top line guys, their second line guys that are real good. And then you have your third line, your fourth line guys. Those are the guys that, in order to slow down the top guys, are the ones hooking and holding and clutching and grabbing and doing all those things. In this tournament, you only had the guys who get obstructed. You didn't bring any of the players who have to do the obstruction to keep up with the stars because it was all stars. So I just think there were fewer obstruction plays to let go because these guys they haven't based their entire games around obstructing to survive against the stars. They are the stars.
Yeah, like that's when I see like there's only one penalty called last night. And I'm like, but I didn't really, at no point was I like, whoa, what are we doing here? And that I hadn't thought of that. It's actually, that makes a ton of sense.
Very good point.
They can all keep up with each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's like one, oh yeah, he tripped him. Like
that's obvious.
Yeah,
Sure,
like,
gotta call that one.
We have to call it. It's a trip. It's a definition. Talking about guys being healthy and like McDavid is supposed to be playing in Philly tomorrow. I assume he will. We'll see. Like all this. For future international tournaments, I've heard this debate. Like this hockey was awesome. But guys dealing with injuries previously from the season. Guys now, oh yeah, maybe I could go. Like Rasmus Ristolainen, who's like, yeah, I got a whole season to think about though. And like, maybe Makachuk, if this is the Stanley Cup, like we've heard the injuries he played with in the last 2 cup finals, you know? He can't go. You still have to think about your club team a little. I love this time of year doing it because the teams are crisp. They're all in game mode, not working out the kinks. We all know what preseason hockey looks like. October, November hockey, it's sloppy as hell. Maybe with the best players in the world, they'd be a little immune to that, but I like doing it this time of year, but there is an argument for doing it like they did in 2016 or 96.
Yeah.
In the summer, leading up to the season when everyone's relatively healthy.
It's reasonable.
Team, you don't have to take a big break in the middle of the season. Which do you think is the better idea?
I mean, like, I don't mind it right now because my favorite hockey team is in no way working towards a playoff race. Like, if I'm a Florida fan, I'm looking at Makachuk hurt, and I'm like, well, that sucks. Like, I want our team to win lots of games and make a run at the Stanley Cup again. Like, now our best player is hurt. That's not fun. So, like, I feel like it just kind of depends on, like, where your team is at. Like for us, it's like, I mean, if Travis Sanheim had gotten hurt, I've been like, that's a shame. But like,
some people might be happy.
Yeah, right. It wouldn't really matter. Like it wouldn't affect the Flyers.
The conversation I heard about Crosby is like, well, the Penguins respect him so much. They know he's hurt, but they're going to leave it to him. They owe him for everything, you know? I'm like, the best thing that can happen to the Penguins is Crosby goes and wins this thing, and then he's out for the rest of the season, and they pick first.
Yeah,
like, that would be the best thing that could possibly happen to Crosby. What do you mean? Oh, they're going to let him make... Oh, please, go! But can you hurt the other hand, too?
Oh
I do think summer makes more sense, though. It's less disruptive, and it doesn't... You don't have the issue where players are going to be hurt going down the stretch into the playoffs.
Here's the question, though. I will pose this to the group. Do you think that the timing of the tournament being in the winter versus the summer, do you think that plays a role in people being more excited about hockey?
Oh, yeah. Like, now this leads to the stretch run.
Well, no. I'm more just saying, like, the idea of, like, if they were to have the tournament in early September, are there going to be casuals? Are going to be like
Labor Day weekend, no one's watching
hockey in September. Like it's 100 degrees outside. Whereas now it's like, yeah, it's February. This feels like hockey time. Do you think that would affect interest and ratings?
I know it does for me.
Here's my question. Without getting into it, do we think this game would have been such a big deal were not for all the other things happening around us?
I do.
You do?
I think it probably...
Such a big deal? It
injected, I think, a lot more casual to people who don't give zero craps about hockey, who then started paying attention to it because people who they like got into it.
Right.
But I do think it was going to be a big deal regardless.
Okay.
Like the outside noise
in our bubble.
Yeah,
it absolutely.
I think it was always
a huge deal.
I think it was always going to be a big deal for sports fans.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if it would have been a big deal for non-sports.
Like
fans.
the outside noise, the booing of the anthems, and that stuff. Listen, I said yesterday, like the added tension absolutely makes for a better entertainment product. I do think that led to maybe how big of a home run this was, but I think it still would have ruled even without all the extracurricular nonsense.
Absolutely.
It just
100%.
like it's extra credit almost. Like I don't want to put it in a positive light. Like, oh, thank God, all this weird stuff's going on. But like for an entertainment product, I think it added to it. But if you take it away, I don't think anyone's like, oh, I don't know, that was kind of lackluster. Like, I think it still rules without it.
Yeah, I just think it injected and I guess we'll see when the ratings come out. I think it injected
very high.
Well, I know we were high in Canada, but of course they were. I haven't seen the U.S. ratings. I'm more talking about the U.S. because Canada was going to watch this regardless.
Fair enough.
When I'm talking about casual to people who don't care about hockey, I'm more talking about U.S. people.
Yes.
Because I do think that everything that went down probably got more like 3 for 4 sports fans to watch this game because of reasons.
Which honestly, like, it's always good because
sometimes
you let someone watch a hockey game like that.
They're going to get hooked, right?
There's no, if you didn't like that, you don't like competitive sports.
Right.
Like you're just not, you're into something else. And that's fine. You can be into something else. But if you like competitive sports and didn't like those 2 USA-Canada games, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, if last night is the first hockey game you ever watched, like start to finish, that was just outstanding.
All right. Before we go any further, I got to tell you about what we're doing Sunday. All 3 of us are going to be at the Wells Fargo Center for the Flyers Charities Carnival. That's right. We have a live show, 11 to 12:30. So many guests lined up. Jim Jackson, Lou Nolan, Dan Hilferty, Jonesy, Brad Shaw, Tim Saunders, potentially some others. We're going to have a ton of fun. Charlie and I are going to be hitting the dunk tank again. Yeah. I cannot wait for this. It's one of my favorite days of the year. It's one of the days we get to be out in the community with the fans, see people. Everyone's in a good mood regardless of where the team is in the standings or whatever, because it's a fun day. It's a good day to just get out and support some good causes and celebrate a hockey team that, regardless of your opinion of them right now, we all do love.
It's the best. They're the best.
It's going to be so much fun. I hope everyone goes and checks it out. Comes, sees our live show, plays the games, gets the autographs, whatever you're fancy. Come check us out. Sunday, 11 to 12:30, Flyers Charities Carnival at the Center.
I really hope we're next to the puppy dogs again.
That was
the best part of last year. We were next to John Tortorella and the puppy dogs. I pet so many dogs. It was great.
All right, Kelly, this is one question I had for you specifically about some Flyers contributions in this tournament.
Okay.
And we talked about Konecny and Sanheim. Ersson played the one game. He was very, very good. His .970 save percentage led the tournament, in fact. But John Tortorella, the, I guess, runner-up assistant coach for Team USA, you see how that best-on-best was played, Kelly.
Yep.
You saw the style of the game, who stepped up, who left something to be desired. Does that give you more confidence in John Tortorella, the arbiter of what it takes to play winning hockey?
Wasn't that Mike Sullivan's team? Like, are we saying that John Tortorella did this?
No, I'm saying the style that was played between the best players in the world and what he preaches.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feels like he might be onto something. She'll never crack.
No.
She'll never give it to me.
I mean, if he was the head coach of the team, I don't know. This made me think, like, did he have a lot of conversations with Mike Sullivan? Like, did he ask him what he's up to next season? Like, did that happen?
I've also never been more convinced Mike Sullivan is going to be our next coach.
I'm cool with that.
But if this is what winning hockey looks like, I don't know. It's kind of what he's talking about. Well, kind of the way you got to play.
Yeah. But also, you know, you got to play your good I mean, like, would John Tortorella have, like, I don't know, scratched Brady Tkachuk for the final 20 minutes of the first U.S.-Canada game because he, like, dogged it trying to get back? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's why when it's time to win, I want him gone.
Right, exactly.
But for now, as the arbiter of who has it, I think he might be onto something. That's all.
All right.
All right. We have some more topics to get to. We have a mailbag question I want to hit. But first, I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. So, yeah, took a little bit of a hit last night. I had Team USA as I predicted, and once again, we came up short. So hopefully everyone just keeps fading my predictions for the rest of the year. But whether you're foolishly following me or you're doing the smart thing and fading me, well, I hope you're placing all your bets at the Bet365 Sportsbook, because that's where I've been placing all my bets this year. My futures, my pregame props, everything is at Bet365. I love the experience, the great features like the early payouts I've been telling you about. Outstanding. You got to check out Bet365. And we have Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $100 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $100 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. While we're here, got to tell you about Glatt Hair Restoration. That's right. Been telling you about Glatt Hair for probably over a year now. And if you've been listening to John Marks, he's been telling you for a decade because he's not just a spokesperson. He's a patient. You see, John Marks, he got that procedure done over a decade ago. His hair still looks fantastic. And that's what Glatt Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical Group can do for you. Bald is now optional. Regain your confidence with Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical. Learn more at glatthairmctr.com. That's glatthairmctr.com. All right. What else do we want to do now? Let's hit this mailbag question while we're talking about the Tkachuks. That's fun. Because you just mentioned Brady Tkachuk. Kelly?
Yep.
And I got an interesting mailbag question last night on Twitter from MST. It's at TuddyT88. It says, serious question. If Ottawa said we went all first-round draft picks this year and 2 future firsts for Brady Tkachuk, straight up.
That's a lot.
And then you may counter with 2 firsts this year, 1 future first, and still say yes, and they still say yes, do you do it? So 3 total first-round picks for Brady Tkachuk. Do you do it?
2 this year and 1 future.
Excuse me.
I might do 2 this year and 1 future, given that they're saying that this draft is kind of weak anyway.
Charlie?
If it's not the Flyers pick,
if it's the Edmonton and Colorado picks and a 2026 first,
I strongly consider it.
Yeah, I would probably do that. But the first, for the 5 picks that you're talking about,
that would be insane.
No, that's insane.
That's crazy.
You can't do that because then what do you have left?
Yeah. And Brady Tkachuk, he's very good. He's not that good.
I might do that for Matthew Tkachuk, but not Brady. Sorry, Brady.
I'll take the younger one at this point. Yeah, the one who doesn't keep getting hurt. Yeah,
well,
he's only got 2 Eastern Conference titles and Stanley Cups under, but I'll just take the younger one. Now, I just found this interesting. I was like, this is a ton. And then I was, who are we hoping to find, especially if it's not our pick?
Right.
Who are we hoping to find
half of a Brady
better
Tkachuk.
than Brady Tkachuk?
Yeah.
Like, went 4th overall?
Yeah, I would want to keep that top 10 pick because I want to have, because say what you will about Brady Tkachuk, and he's a really good player. His stock is obviously extremely high right now because of how well he played in this tournament. He's not a center. You still need that path to getting that center. But if you could make a trade like that while keeping your top 10 pick, where you can hopefully draft, Michael Misa, James Higgins, Roger McQueen, Anton Frondell, like one of those guys, and then have a path to having that 1C who is 18, 19 years old, then I consider it, because if anything else, and don't get me wrong, I love watching Brady Tkachuk. He's a really good player. But I would like for them to get a guy like that just so Flyers fans would shut the hell up about how much they need a guy like that. If you have, when they had Wayne Simmons, you couldn't say they don't have the skilled, tough guy at the top of the line. And I loved Wayne Simmons. But it was nice because then it was, the Flyers don't build physical. They have Wayne Simmons. He's the toughest dude in the league. If they were to get Brady Tkachuk, then at least I wouldn't have to hear, they're not big enough. They're not physical enough. They don't play like the Flyers. Well, you know what? They got Brady Tkachuk, so shut the hell up. It would make my life better because it wouldn't have to deal with people complaining about that particular thing all the damn time.
I like that.
And that is important to me.
I like that the people who annoy Charlie are me. While we're talking about these draft picks, let's do the daily Tankathon spin.
I'm feeling good about it.
Let's do it. Let us hit that Tankathon spin. Now, of course, they haven't played in 2 weeks, so the odds haven't changed. Flyers are still sitting in 6th from the top, I guess.
Nashville has the 3rd worst record in hockey.
They spent $1 trillion and they stink. They flat out
Bill picked them to win the cup.
That is so funny.
I picked them to win the President's Trophy.
President's Trophy.
And Soros to win the Vezina. and the whole
I liked
thing.
what you were going for.
I
was
just
a bold
thought,
choice.
All right.
know,
Anyway, so that's you know the deal now. Standings haven't changed in 2 weeks. Brenna, spin that wheel. Did we?
Nah.
Did they stay at 6?
Still 6.
All right.
Seattle jumps up to 1.
Well, we've been on we have been on a streak of dropping to 7.
Okay.
So at least they maintained the
Incremental
6
improvement. Okay.
in this one. And that is today's Tankathon spin. And listen, you want to see maybe some recent really good draft picks? You got to come to Montreal with us.
Yeah.
Matvey Michkov versus Lane Hudson. Cole Caulfield versus Cam York. It's the showdown of the century. USA versus Canada 3. That's right. We're coming for the, I'm going to call this the rubber match. You know, US Canada. They split the first 2. Now we gotta decide it ourselves. Philadelphia
Our
versus
own little Montreal.
Philly versus Montreal. We're going with Philly Sports Trips, April 4th to the 7th. Head over to allphly.com right now. Click that events tab. You are going to want to go on this trip with us. It is going to be so much freaking fun. I've been telling you for weeks. It's one of Charlie's favorite NHL cities. Kelly loves Montreal. I've never been. I'm really looking forward to it. Come with us to Montreal, allphly.com. It's a Philly Sports Trips joint. All right. Charlie, we haven't really got a chance to talk about your part 2 of your Brent Flahr interview. Just the way the schedule has worked out. You put it out, and we had a couple days off. I was out. There's this tournament that has taken up quite a bit of our conversation.
A little bit.
But you had part 2 of your conversation with Brent Flahr, and this one was on the defensemen and the goalies. Now, I'm going to do what we did yesterday and give you a dealer's choice. But the first guy I got to ask about is Zavragin, because I think that's that's our golden goose right now.
Yeah.
Like if we can just the way USA, it's like, yeah, man, Canada, they probably have the talent advantage, but we have the goalie, so I think we can win. Goalie is the great eraser. We're looking at Zavragin right now. What did you find most interesting in your conversation with Brent Flahr about Zavragin?
Well, just some stuff. Like he confirmed that the reason why he missed that time in December was because he was banged up, which is something we didn't know for sure. But that was an injury. That wasn't that he just got relegated to Siberia for a month. He was injured. That's why he missed time. The most interesting thing I think that was said was Brent Flahr more or less said, don't expect this guy to come over until the contract is up.
Yeah.
This is not a Matvey Michkov situation. Plus, I think they are... Brent Flahr has said this to me on multiple occasions for multiple goalies in the system. He's like, look, the one thing that they do really, really well in Russia is develop goalies. They do well at developing goalies at the KHL level. And Zavragin already has a not insignificant role on one of the premier teams in Russia. So it's not like they have to race to get him over here in the way that they were motivated to get Michkov over here because he was getting jerked around. He was playing for Sochi. Who knows if he was going to ever be able to get on Roman Rotenberg's good side at SKA. So it's like, okay, let's come to an agreement. Let's get him over here. With Zavragin, I think they are very confident he's going to play. And they like the fact that Russia tends to pump out legitimately really good goalies. I mean, 2 of the best in the league right now are Russian in Shesterkin and Sorokin. So I think, while I understand why fans want the shiny new toy now, they're going to have to wait a little bit for this guy. But I can tell you this, and you even heard this when Keith Jones was on with Gargano.
Yes.
The organization, they're trying their best to hide how excited they are about this guy. They are really excited about this guy.
They can't let Russia know how bad they want him because that just jacks up the bribe.
No.
But, yeah, I found it very interesting, the unsaid part. Now, listen, it's what are you going to say? He's over there and he ain't coming. But Russia does tend to develop goalies well.
That's one thing they do.
I can't say that the Flyers have a tremendous track record of that.
It's a fair point.
They don't.
It's a very fair point.
And SKA, maybe not having the best season, but to your point, they are one of those teams with the funding, the facilities, everything. He has everything at his disposal to become what he's supposed to become, and then we just get him, when he's almost a finished product, basically like Shesterkin and Sorokin were. They came over in their mid-20s. And I found that exciting. I know we're going to have to wait. Luckily, we got, the early payoff with Mish, so, we're not waiting on everybody. But I am really, really excited, and his comments kind of reaffirmed my excitement for Zavragin.
They think he's going to be real good. Just going to have to wait a little bit. I know sports fans generally and Philadelphia fans specifically have a problem with patience. You're going to have to be a little patient with this guy.
I've been waiting 50 years.
But
Chuck.
I think it's going to be worth the wait. I think he's going to be real good.
I tend to agree. I'm going to do some dealer's choice here because we're running short on time already. Hour just flies, especially when it's all three of us. Who did you think some of the most interesting answers are? And to read this entire article, because we're not giving you the whole damn thing, go to allphly.com right now. Sign up to be a diehard if you're not one. And I'm pretty sure we got a $48 a year deal going still. Yes, we do.
Yay.
We have the annual pass for $48. So check out all of Charlie and our entire all-star roster of writers at allphly.com. Sign up to be a diehard. All right, Chuck. Give me your next most interesting guy.
Next most interesting guy? I mean, Andre, obviously. Emil Andre, he's fourth on our list. He's very interesting to me. I straight up asked Brent Flahr about the size question. Are you guys concerned about having York, Drysdale, and Andre in the same decor? And he was honest, and he said, look, it could be a problem in the playoffs. It's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But in the here and now, I'm going to read the quote. It was, it's something we're aware of, and and if it's the case that it happens, maybe we have to make a change or whatever. But I think we'll make sure our guys are established here first and figure it out from there. That's exactly the answer I wanted to hear, because I acknowledge that it might be too small, that having those three guys in the same blue line, especially in the playoffs, yeah, they might get exploited. But I'm not ready to say that with certainty before I see it. I want to see the Flyers get beat in a playoff series because their defense is too small before I trade away one of these guys, before I even have a clue what they all are. That's kind of where I'm at. And so I'd like to hear that from him. It was interesting, though, today, Brad Shaw was asked kind of a similar question, and he more or less said, like, nah, I want big guys. It's like, I want a big defense.
Listen, I would always prefer, like, if everything being equal, give me the bigger guy. But prioritizing that first over just collecting the skill is how you end up giving up a first-round pick and more, and then extending Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yep.
Like, that's foolish.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Collect talent however much you can, and then figure it out from there. Like the Florida Panthers, for instance. They decided, you know what? We do need to get a little meaner. This high-flying offense, maybe we need some badasses. So here you go. Jonathan Huberdeau, see you later. Matt Tkachuk, come on down. Problem solved. Like,
Jonathan,
it all worked out.
Tampa did it with Jonathan Drouin for Sergachev.
Exactly. You can always trade talent. You can like a guy with high upside. It doesn't matter if they think he'll score for them. They'll give you something.
Yep.
Collect the talent first. I was hoping you would mention that, because that was, I thought, a very, very good answer.
You know who you're not going to get a ton for in a trade? Hunter McDonald. He's just big.
He's just big. He might get in games at the end of the season, although I thought Flair's answer with regards to him, where he said, we've told him, don't be waiting for a call-up right now. We're going to get other guys for that. Just keep playing. They apparently really like the tandem with him and Louis Belpedio, who we remember. He got some time.
He was decent
last year.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's a great dude. He's like a good mentor-type veteran down there. Let him develop. Let him cook.
That is absolutely fine with me. How many super chats we got, Bryn? 3.
Ooh.
All right, let's hit this first one here then from JH. JH says...
Oh, here we go.
There it is.
There it
Let's
is.
go.
Yes. So McJesus gets a ride back on the Flyers private jet, skips practice, the cap's going up. Jonesy said the 48-86 trade was a cap dump. McJesus, his UFA is next summer, hits UFA next summer. Thoughts? Is that what they're going for? It has to be, right?
Has to be.
Listen.
Bring him home.
It is
home.
Yeah, bring him home.
When was this ever his home?
It is
today.
common courtesy. Like, they're going to the same place. You give the guy a ride.
You didn't have to.
That said, while you're on the plane,
On the PJ, you give him a little couple
hey man,
of drinks.
it's pretty good here, and you're up there in Canada where
Does
it's
Edmonton
always
have a PJ?
kind of you're the Cowboys, man. Like, you're the best player in the world. You play in Canada. It's probably tough. It ain't like that here. Like, we got the Eagles. That's really it. But, you know, like sell them a little. Before we go any further, just want to say we appreciate those of you watching on TV. Head over to allphly.com for more of the show. More of the show is going to be us finishing up these super chats. I hope they are at least.
We're doing some low-level tampering.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He ain't going anywhere.
No,
I
never
really
leave. They're
seriously doubt Connor McDavid is leaving Edmonton.
Yeah, I think he's going to resign.
But
they always resign.
They always do. They're so dumb.
But Canadian dollar, I don't know. He's going to get what? Like, he could get 20 mil a season. Are they in a place that they could pay that? I don't know. They traded Wayne Gretzky once. They do wild stuff up there.
No, I mean, look.
So cold.
This is the kind of stuff where
it's not going to happen, but it's fun.
This is the kind of stuff where if you're the Philadelphia Flyers, it's like, why not? You know, this is not and I know fans are going to have fun with it, and that's great. You know what, fans, have a blast speculating and doing your quote tweets and whatever. That's cool. But if we're breaking this down seriously, most likely Connor McDavid is going to re-sign with the Oilers. However,
don't do it.
If McDavid did decide that he wanted to go elsewhere, you want the first thing he thinks of when every single team is making him a contract offer, because every single team would. You want the first thing he thinks of when he thinks of Philadelphia to be, that was really nice what they did for me after the Four Nations tournament. It's just something that when you're a wealthy organization with all the money in the world and the backing of a major conglomerate, you can do these cool little things that just maybe would help you a little bit if the opportunity presents itself. Why not? Why not do it?
Now, my fear, though, in that the Flyers extending this courtesy to Connor McDavid to fly him back to meet with the team in Philadelphia, is John Tortorella was probably on that plane too. No. And listen, I love you, John, but I don't know if I want you to be our recruiter of superstar level talent.
Yeah, we need you to play more defense, Connor.
And listen, Connor played a hell of a tournament. I don't want John out there being like, you could have blocked a few more shots, though.
Yeah. Tortorella would absolutely try to sell McDavid on the whole, because he mentioned this literally this past month, where you know, Connor, Alex Ovechkin didn't win his cup until he started playing a little bit of defense. I'll teach you how to play a little bit of defense, Connor. That would 100% be his pitch. I'll get you a cup because I will make your life a living hell, and then you'll get your cup at the end of it.
But hey, for a guy who now, like, he's got every individual thing. Yeah. He's going to get Olympic gold in all likelihood.
Got to a Game 7 cup final.
He got to a Game 7 and lost.
Tastes as close as you can get.
Maybe.
He even won a Conn Smythe.
Maybe he'd be signed up for something. Hey, man, you won a Conn Smythe in a losing effort. You're already a Philadelphia Flyer. Come on. Who does that better than us? I'm just...
Yeah, then in 25 years, you'll be the GM and get fired, and everyone will hate you.
Yeah, well, such is life. But listen... Maybe he just showed him pictures of his dogs. Yeah, that would be cool.
Maybe. Maybe McDavid is a dog guy.
Maybe.
That's the level of salesmanship I need from John Tortorella.
Yeah, just like him playing with his dogs.
Look at my puppy dogs. Yeah. Here's the horse that kicked me.
Yeah, here's the horse that kicked me. I forgot about that.
Just the low-level, low-stakes stuff from you, John.
The John Tortorella experience, man. There's so much that has happened that I truly blotted out the horse kicking him.
He got kicked by a horse.
And went to work.
Which is like what I say to people when they're being ridiculous online. I say, did you get kicked in the head by a horse? And then it actually
did
to our coach.
He actually did.
And like, I love the guy. I really do.
What a world.
All right. Another one here from JH. The only thing Marchand carried on his back was TK.
Yeah, he was extremely underwhelming in the final, really in the tournament overall.
He scored the first Team Canada goal of the tournament, and I think that might be it for him.
He just looks slow. And like he was never a burner.
Yeah.
And now he's 36 and he's lost a half step, and he's still a good player. I mean, he's not bad. It's just that in this tournament when everyone is incredible and they're basically all in their 20s, with the exception of like 4 guys, it's noticeable.
You think Boston trades him?
I don't think so, but who knows?
I'm just saying. Could happen. All right, and this last one here from Dylan Phillips. So should we just get ready for Sully for next head coach? Yeah, I'm
there
already.
There are worse fates.
I would have 0 issues with it.
I think he's a very good coach. I mean, John Cooper would be cooler, but you know.
I think it's going to be Mike Sullivan. I'm kind of convinced of it. And I think he's an excellent coach. My issue is always just historical. No coach and no sport wins with multiple teams.
Yeah, I don't care.
It doesn't happen.
I don't care about that. The main reason why I am cool with Sullivan being the coach is because my big fear coming out of the Tortorella era is when Tortorella inevitably goes upstairs or ends his time as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, I'm afraid that all of the culture and all of the discipline that he instilled is going to go out the window immediately because the mean guy is gone. And now the inmates are on the asylum. Now it's like, yeah, we can do whatever we want because mean old John Tortorella is gone. And then the whole thing falls apart. And then it's like, well, then what was the point of having them suffer through Tortorella anyway, if there isn't someone that follows him who is willing to, maybe ease up a bit, like don't scratch the captain maybe, but is still enough of a hard ass that he's not going to let the whole thing kind of spiral out of control. And I think Sullivan absolutely is enough of a hard ass that he won't let the Flyers structure completely go by the wayside the second Torts is gone.
What kind of structure have they built if it falls apart that easily?
A lot of John Tortorella's structure is built on fear of John Tortorella. It's do the right thing or else you're going to get benched.
I will say, though, my theory, and different sport, different thing altogether, and Charlie, you could very well be on the right track here. My theory about the Phillies that eventually became, the 07-08 Phillies, the Charlie Manuel era, was that the locker room, the clubhouse was self-motivated. They finally got rid of Larry Boa and the guys who played for him, Burrell, Rollins, Utley. They told everyone else, we have to play for kind old Uncle Chuck. Otherwise, they're going to bring in a Larry Boa type.
Another guy like
and we are all going to hate coming to work every day so much. Let's just go play hard for this guy. And they eventually had the best era in team history. I think that could work too. Okay. But I see where you're coming from. That could be a thing too. And I think Sullivan's a hell of a coach. And I'm kind of thinking it's going to happen. All right. That's it. That is all the time we have for you today on PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you're following us right here on the YouTube page for our first post game in forever. We have pre and post tomorrow for Flyers Oilers, so make sure you join us. Set that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. And obviously, we will also be coming to you live on Sunday with the Carnival. So don't miss any of that. Follow the YouTube page. Follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. And follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. That's it. I am Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. That is Kelly Hinkle. Until tomorrow, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.